the sun. From the north, south, east, and west, somebody say, if you believe in us, with your feet alone, if I told you how I came this far and all the things that I've been through, need I tell you that I've been to hell, I've seen it all and done it all. Growing up as a child. Here we stand as a people with one song, with one voice, we're a nation undivided and poised. We will take us down and build our land to defend what is ours. Here we are as a people with one heart for one cause. We're determined to rebuild and restore. Where freedom reigns and truth prevails. Our land where there's hope for us all. Our land where there's hope for us all. We'll defend the land. We believe in this nation, and we know we'll get it. We'll defend the land. We believe in Nigeria and the promise she holds, and that one day we'll shine like the sun. We're a great nation. Though we are many people, different tribes, different tongues, we're united in our strength and resolve.
Hello, good evening everyone, and welcome to the weekly political roundup organized by YNAG. Happy to meet you. Hi Adekunle, hi King Adetunji, hello Oluwatosin. Good evening. Okay, so I think I'll just give us a few minutes to wait for others who will be interested in joining, and then we'll start at exactly 7:06. Yes, so I'm just leaving 2 minutes for us before we start, so we have more people on the call. Enjoy the song in the meantime. Thank you. We have 1 minute. Okay, so it's exactly 7:06, and I think it's a good time to start. Hi again, everyone. Yeah. So good evening, sorry, everybody. How are we all doing? Feel free to type in the comment section. Yes, good to see you. It's been a while. I hosted this. Yes, I know. Thank you. Good to see you too. So feel free to type, how was your weekend? Or how is your weekend going? How was your day? How was the week? Feel free to drop it in the comment section, just to familiarize, right? Thank you. Okay. Anybody? Okay. This is me assuming that everybody had a good week and we had a productive week and we're ready to start. So today we'll be discussing fuel subsidy and its removal and implication on Nigerian residents. My name is Ayomde Fason and I'm going to be your host on today's episode of the weekly roundup, the weekly political roundup, as it were. Yes. Okay, so I'm just going to give us a background. I know quite a number of us are familiar with the news that the Nigerian government is about to remove the subsidy on our fuel, right? And there are rumors here and there that it's going to be right about 300 naira. It is currently 145 or within that range currently. So the Independence Petroleum, I'm reading the news here. The Independence Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria had said yesterday that its support for the federal government over the planned removal of subsidy of premium motor spirits stems from the realization that the Petroleum Industry Act, signed into law by President Muhammadu Buhari on August 16, makes no provision for subsidy. Okay, and they advised the government to remove the petrol subsidy because it's not in the interest of the development of the downstream sector. Thank you, Tosin. Happy to be here as well. All right, so this is where we are. The PIA that was signed by our president, Muhammadu Buhari, makes no provision for subsidy, hence we have to remove subsidy. But before all of this, because sometimes we are just all joining everybody in the crowd to say, hey, no subsidy, this we don't want, yes, there should be subsidy, why are they removing it, and all of that. Do we even know what it is? Do we have a background to how fuel subsidy started and all of that put together? So I think I'm just going to run us through that a little bit, and then we can begin to engage on what's the way forward or the implications, which is the real discussion we have, the removal and its implication on Nigerian residents. Yeah, so what is subsidy in real, like the word itself? So subsidy is an incentive given by the government to individuals or business or firm in form of cash, grants or tax to break that tax break that improves the supply of certain goods and services. So for instance, if as a farmer, the government can look at me and say, okay, I want to grant subsidy to maybe providing machineries that I'm going to use on my farm, or fertilizer or pesticides, as it were. So this is just taking away a measure of burden from people, just to help them or to improve the services, right, for here, like, or the supply chain of a particular good or services. Yes, so this is what subsidy is about. And like I said, the genesis is since 1970, right? Fuel subsidy started. Okay, so I'm happy to see Dr. Muya on this call. Sorry, I had to call you out. Hello and welcome. Okay, so back to the genesis of how the fuel subsidy started. So fuel subsidy has been in place in Nigeria since 1970, and it began with the government routinely selling petrol to Nigerians at below cost. Even at that time, most Nigerians were not even aware that this was ongoing until it became institutionalized in 1977 following the promulgation of the Price Control Act, which made it illegal for some products, including petrol, to be sold above the regulated price. And this law was introduced by the General Olusegun Obasanjo regime in order to cushion the effects of the great inflation in the era of the 1970s. So this is even how fuel subsidy started in Nigeria. It was just to alleviate this inflation at that time, where there was petrol, the regulated prices for petrol in the world. Okay, so between 2006 and 2018, Nigerians spent 10 trillion naira at the current official rate of naira, which is 411 or thereabouts now, as at this was written, on petroleum subsidy. So this means that for 16 years now, Nigeria has spent $30 billion on fuel subsidy. So in a sense, we can say maybe the government indeed has tried. But what have they achieved the aim they wanted with this fuel subsidy? They wanted to make fuel or petrol available to Nigerians at a reasonable price, which worked. But now I think we are beginning to realize that we don't have the capacity to continue this anymore, and this is why they want to remove the subsidy. So the question is this a good time to do that, or what is the way forward? What is the implication on Nigerian residents? The inflation right now is high. Things are not as it used to be a few years down the line. Things are getting more expensive. There's recession. So is this really a good time? I understand that it's been a burden on the government. Like I just said, I will reiterate again. For the past 16 years, Nigeria has spent $30 billion on fuel subsidy. So what is really the way forward for us from here? Okay, so I will just give the reason. Okay, so Nigeria wants to scrap fuel subsidy because the nation's budget can no longer contain the financial burden. The subsidy will drive budget shortfall to 6.3% of economic output this year, according to the International Monetary Fund. And the subsidy currently costs the government about 250 billion naira a month. So IMF recommends that the West African nation do away with subsidies and implement a well-targeted social assistance plan to cushion the negative impact of cutting subsidy on the poor. So I'll pause here now and get our reactions. So now we know the history. When it started right about 1970. The reason it started was just to help Nigerians and to regulate the prices of fuel, right? But okay, 16 years down the line, this is a whole lot, and the government right now cannot continue to bear the burden. So what do we do? It's hard on us. It's going to tell on a lot of things. If we on the prices of goods and services, if fuel by next year is 300 naira. So I'm waiting for your reactions to know, what do you think? What is the way forward? What can we do better? So I'll pause now and wait to read our comments in the session, on the comment section. Thank you. Okay, so I see Adekunle writes here that the concept itself has outlived its purpose. Okay, so if this concept has outlived its purpose, right, what next can we do? Okay, building our own refineries would be our best bet. Yeah, okay, that's one option. Okay, thank you, Adekunle, for your comment. I look forward to other responses too. Okay, interesting perspective. Okay, so I see here that we shouldn't be importing fuel in the first instance because that's where this scam emanated from. Well, I think even if we look at it, if we spend such huge amount of money in subsidizing for, maybe we would have channeled that into building our own refineries. I think it would be enough, maybe one or two. And I know that there's been conversation going on about privatizing it and allowing the private sector actually own their own refineries and sell fuel to Nigerians. But I think there were arguments about that so that it will be within the reach, and just like NNPC that was privatized at some point, that it's not going to go well. I don't know, but I leave it up to us to actually make our suggestion. What do we think? What do we think really? If they privatize the fuel, having their own, we have private people having their own refineries and selling fuels to Nigerians, will that really solve this problem really? So I see here that the question is, of what use would be the subsidy removal? The usual paddling of the budget continues. The federal government should cut its budget. The removal of subsidies is basically not the best approach to revive our economy. Yes, I agree, right? Because I think the subsidy is just one of the so many, like removing subsidy is just one of the many ways we are spending money excessively in Nigeria. So if they remove it, where are they channeling this money to? I think it's a very valid question. So if we remove this subsidy, are we sure that this is going to be put into improving the roads, infrastructure, and what have you? So Namaka, welcome. Okay, so the government should form partnership with private entrepreneurs. Okay, and maybe that way they can even also get money from it. They pay them, or they have a share in it, right? That way too the government makes money or earns. True. Okay, I don't want to start calling names, so it's only Adekule that's responsive on this call. Okay.
So we are many people, different tribes, different tongues.
So, the truth is, it's just two sides of the coin. Oluwatosi is saying that subsidy removal not going to increase the already high rate of inflation in the country. Yes, it is going to do that. But if this money is channeled perhaps into agriculture or something, and that reduces the cost of food and its production in Nigeria, some way that solves some problem and maybe balances out the equation, right? Or also invest in other sectors, maybe the health sector, maybe the education sector. If they the real issue is one thing to remove the subsidy from fuel subsidy, right? It's another thing to actually use the money for something else, because like Adekule rightly mentioned, they might eventually resort to doing budget padding in quotes, right, where we don't even know where the money is anymore, even after removing. I think that is the cry of many Nigerians, that this is not the first time. It was 65 naira at some point, then it became 145, and here we are now. And you want to increase it to 300. You keep saying you can't control it. You can't. It's becoming a burden to you. But really, with what you have, what have you done? And if you remove, with little you've removed over the years, right? We did not see the results, in a sense, or it wasn't tangible enough to most people. So if you are going to remove this again now, what is going to happen? Where is this money going? So that is really why I think Nigerians are very averse to this new, to the news itself. And people are already protesting. I see the Nigerian Association of Students saying no, they don't want this, they are going to go on strike and all of that. Which is, well, I don't even know if that really is the way to speak to the government these days. How many times have we gone on protest, and what comes out of it really? So I think for us as Nigerian youths, and even as concerned citizens, right, we need to think of other ways to actually hear our voices to the government. How do we make them accountable with the resources they have? Every time they come up with new laws or just share the news and say, oh, this is what we are thinking about, this is what we want to do. Okay, fine. Is there a public? Have you sampled public opinions? what is the way forward? Is this really the solution now? I know yet International Monetary Fund has suggested, and they rightly suggested that they should create, let me take that again. The International Monetary Fund rightly suggested that they create a well-targeted social assistance plan to cushion the negative impact of cutting subsidy on the poor. But we know, I heard that it's going to be 5,000 naira they want to be sharing. Do they even have the data of the number of poor people in Nigeria that they want to share 5,000 to every single month? What platform do they want to maximize? Like, it's very vague. Their plan is very vague and it's not clearly spelled out. So it's pretty difficult to say this, if they do this is the end result and we can all track it. So with this, it's difficult to monitor it and evaluate on the long run. Yeah. So this is our sad reality currently. I look forward to other people's responses, really, because so I hope I've answered your question, Oluwatosin. So as much as I said it's two sides of a coin, it can increase the already high rate of inflation if the money is not channeled properly to elevate it, right? So it's just a mix of everything. Hi, Fuminife, welcome. So for those that are just joining, I'll just try to reiterate what we are discussing. It's fuel subsidy, its removal and application on Nigerian residents. So what do we do now? They want to remove subsidy because it's a burden on, it's a financial burden to the government. If they remove the subsidy, does it change anything? Does it solve anything in the big picture? Isn't it more burden on the poor or even the society itself? Whether the rich or the poor, every single person will be affected, right? So this is our discussion. So what is the implication on the good and the bad side, right? Yeah, if the money is well channeled, it can improve the economy in a sense. But on the other hand, okay, if they don't do anything and they pad the budget again, what happens? Yeah, good to see you too. Thanks for joining. From Nife.
Our land in faith to defend what is ours. Here we are as a people with one heart for one cause. We're determined to rebuild and restore. There's hope for us all. Our land, where there's hope for us all.
Okay, so I'm just doing a quick read on privatization and commercialization, and there's something interesting here. So when we say privatization, it's the process of transferring ownership and control of a government-owned business to private individuals. So it's actually the transfer of ownership right from a public agency to a private sector, more like a sale of government-owned assets and the opening of certain markets to the private sector. Okay, but this is different from commercialization, and this is the practice of making a profit from services or actively formally offered free or at a low price to the public. So that means there is privatization and there's commercialization. So privatization is transferring the ownership from the public sector to the private sector, right? But commercialization is now the practice of making a profit from services or activities formally free or offered at a low price to the public. So I think in this case, it's more of privatization and not commercialization, really. They're already selling it anyways. They're just selling it at a reduced price. So if they're now beginning to make profit from it, that's even going to be more expensive. So let them just leave it as it is, and then maybe privatize it and give it to private sectors who will now take ownership of refinery instead of us importing fuel and all of that. Yeah. Okay. So anyone with any comment? Okay. I think I missed this. Adekunle had mentioned that we should allow individuals to own their refineries if the government cannot provide one. Yeah, that's what I just talked about, which is privatization, really. Okay. Alright, I'm still waiting for our responses. Any comment? What do you think is the way forward? So if this is really their decision, how can we ensure that it actually favors everybody? Really, it actually favors everybody, that they channel the money to the right places and it's useful on the long run. Okay, I'm waiting for our responses. There's something interesting I just found here. So I was saying that there's something interesting I just found here. So speaking on privatization, right? It says here that privatization is a good policy measure and should be pursued with vigor, truth, sincerity, and transparency. In addition, the government should endeavor to set aside politicking when privatizing or avoid selling of public property to cronies and family members. So I think this is where we have issues too. Like, we have so many issues anyways. That one is no news anyways, right? But I think this is why people are also averse to privatization, that these folks will go and sell it to their family members now and say they're selling of public properties to family members. So it's just supposed to be done with sincerity and transparency. So if you know you can afford this, you can set up a refinery. There's a measure, maybe register here, do this, do that. But we think, right? Well, this is already stated here in this research work. The impact of privatization and commercialization in Nigeria. I think people can just check it up online and read it. It's a good read, really. Just skimming through, I see useful content here. Okay, so Oluwatosi said payment of 5,000 to some millions of Nigerians, that's sustainable. Obviously, with no plan, it's not, right? What does 5,000 naira even do in the current, in this current Nigeria? If you have 5,000 naira, what can you boast of? Can that sustain you for 2 weeks? I really doubt it. Like 2 weeks, really. Let's say you are just alone. Let's say a family with just 2 children, and they're earning 5,000 a month. Well, this is just to support them. So let's assume on normal day the husband is earning 10,000. They just or let's even use the minimum wage, 33,000 or 30, right? Let's say 33,000. So the husband earns 33,000, the wife earns 33,000. That's 66,000, and now you are giving them 5,000 naira. So another thing is, are you going to be giving 5,000 naira to individuals or to families? Because if it's 5,000 naira to individuals, then the husband and wife gets 10,000 naira. So altogether, that's 76,000 naira in a month. They have two children. Two children are going to private schools. Maybe they pay some 30,000 naira per term. Maybe, I'm just even assuming. So let's do the maths. They feed. They spend. I'm sure they spend more than 5,000 naira on food. Let's say clothing has become luxury, so they buy clothes like maybe per quarter, like once in a quarter, which is really, but it's not supposed to be. But assuming that's an average poor man in Nigeria or poor family in Nigeria, so they buy clothes maybe quarterly or even twice in a year. And then what else? They pay rent yearly. And I'm sure if they are going to be living in a 2-bedroom flat in, let's say, anywhere, any rural area, they would pay almost 100,000. Okay. And they feed, they go to school. There are other expenses. They pay electricity bills. I'm just even creating a scenario now. They pay electricity bill. I'm trying to think of the tiniest needs that they have, the basic needs they have. Okay, there is shelter. They pay like 100k for rent. Transportation is there. Okay, let's say this is 5,000 they want to share. It's going to be solving, which I don't even believe, because once that price increases, I can bet you that every transportation fare or transportation charge increases by default. Because you keep hearing the drivers still have homes, they have families, they have to repair their cars. Like, everybody's involved. So people use generator in factories. It will affect the cost of pure water. So many things really. Where you go and make your hair, where you go to barb your hair, they will increase the prices of services, of goods. So the truth is, I don't think 5,000 naira is sustainable every month. How many people are they reaching out to? Millions of Nigeria. It's not even, there's no tied number to it. There's no plan. How do they intend to send it? How do they even know those that are poor? What's the definition of poor? Because I think those are the questions we should really ask. Because and it's true, it's just showing that it's not feasible. It's not even feasible to start with, less sustainable, right? So if you are saying you want to share 5,000 to some millions of Nigerians who are poor, the first thing is, okay, what does being poor mean? So that we can even categorize, okay, if you check, are you poor or not? If you meet this criteria, then you are poor. So you don't do this, you don't do that, or you're out of job, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so how many people are in this category? Before they can even say, okay, how much is sustainable for them? Like, it's just a lot of things. They're just happy to just announce. I don't know why they do this without really thinking things through, really. It's not sustainable, that's the truth. I quite agree. It's not even feasible to start with. That's what I think, because they don't even have the right plans. They don't have the accurate data to work with, to even set off and say, oh, we want to start this. It's sad, Sha. It's really sad. I quite agree with you too. It's actually sheer wastage, yes. Because eventually this budget I'm seeing, you said what? Sorry. Okay, you read that earlier 5,000 will be given to 40 million Nigerians. That alone is about 2 trillion. And that is wasted. So my real question, to be honest, is who says 40 million Nigerians are poor? Like, what's the source of this data? And why do they think they would? Like, how do they even start? Does this 40 million Nigerians include children? Really? Or it's just adults? And what's the definition of adults? Is it between 18 to 65 years? Or is it older people who are between 65 and about to die? The elderly people instead. So what category of people are these 40 million Nigerians? Are they young adults? Are they within 18 to 65? Are children inclusive? So it's just funny. So if you are going to spend 2 trillion again now, that's every month. If 2 trillion every month, guys, and we say we have financial bodies. I don't know if we are ready for this kind of talk, because even IMF that recommended social assistance plan wrote it in quotes, well-targeted social assistance plan. I don't know if they missed the part of well-targeted, because it's not feasible, just like I still said earlier. it and list Oh, hello, Manuel. Good to see you. Yes, so my question is, how do you want to define a poor Nigerian? What's the criteria? So how do I tell if I'm poor? Is it when I cannot afford the minimum wage, or or when I'm not earning the minimum wage? Is it when I feed once in a day? And even if I'm feeding once in a day, how do you measure like the cost of the food? It's pretty tricky, really. I think maybe we can think together, right, and suggest what social assistance plan do we think Nigerian can take up. Let's maybe we should get to that. What do we think? Aside this 5,000, I doubt if it's going to work. I don't even see it working anyway. Ordinary Empower, they've even succeeded in moving that forward. Sorry to say, no offense to anyone, sha. But it's the truth. It's just what we see. But the real question is, so what else can we do? Like, what other social assistance plan do you think Nigeria can employ or use? I'm trying to think too. Let's see. You can be even noting this. So I'm giving us time to think. I'm also thinking too, what social assistance plan can we really do? If this 5,000, we already all agree that it's not feasible, it's not sustainable. So what else can they do really? Well, I'm thinking agriculture, like investing more. If food is cheaper, I think it will save some major problems. But if food is cheap and transporting the food now, they've increased the fuel. What's that? Yeah, let's see. No, but that's if they even balance that with privatization, right? Like they privatize the oil sector and let people be able to build refineries. That reduces the burden on them and solves a particular problem, increases job opportunities. And as you're doing that alongside, you now channel the money you've removed from fuel subsidy, right, and then invest it in agriculture and make food surplus and really cheap. Okay, I'm seeing what you're saying. Okay, so I'm going to jot our points and so we can reiterate at the end of the call. So yes, we touch agriculture versus privatization. Okay, so Oluwatosin says social assistance plan, I think, should include the development of other areas of transportation infrastructure. Okay, say railway. So, okay, maybe like cheaper means of transportation, right? If you now go to that railway site, they will not remember Kaduna experience and begin to think of security. Before they will go, and I think it's even expensive. Is it Lagos to Ibadan? Yes, no, I think there's Lagos to Ibadan, the new one. That is like 3,000, cost 3,000 thereabout. Can we say that's cheap for an average, a poor Nigerian? I don't think so. Okay, but let's note that. So, cheaper means of transportation. But this now comes to the question with a big question mark on security. We saw what happened just on Sunday, November 21st, on Sunday, along Abuja Kaduna Expressway, where they were stopping cars and kidnapping folks. Like, it's a gory sight to see. Even the security folks on the road, so I heard that they fled because of the number of people that came out and the instruments and guns and stuff that they had with them. Now we have so many people with families, they don't even know where they are. They just as okay, you mentioned he was traveling to Kaduna or was coming to Abuja, but they can't find him, they can't trace him. I heard also that the network even on the road is blocked because you can't call anybody, though there's poor network on the road because of this communication XYZ. Okay, I see Oluwatosin mentioned commuter buses for government workers like BRT in Lagos. Yeah, but this is pretty biased now. So we are not government workers now. We are not Nigerian citizens. We don't have rights to access to easy transportation or free transportation in a sense. Well, government workers will solve half of the problem, but there's now a bias because people will begin to say, okay, I'm not a government worker, so am I less of a Nigerian citizen? Or am I less of a Nigerian resident if they are just going to be making commuter buses available to government workers? And sometimes even people think that these government workers, they even work as much as their private counterparts and all of that. So this is pretty dicey, I would say, having to provide buses for government workers. Because me, I'm not a government worker, I'm going to beef them. Yes, I'm just saying. Okay, so I look forward to other people's responses. Emmanuel, Fuminife, Adekunle, Feel free to drop your comments. So what we are thinking of now is, what social plan can we suggest to the government to alleviate this negative impact of cutting the subsidy on the poor? If they've gotten to the point that they really, okay, like I already said, Buhari made no provision for subsidy in the Petroleum Industry Act that he already signed August 16 this year. So that means sooner or later, it's just is an evil day that is still eventually going to come or happen, right? So they will still eventually remove the subsidy. But what is now the social assistance plan that IMF is suggesting? What ideas do we have that we can actually maybe put together and share, right? Hopefully somebody sees it, or hopefully the government sees it, and yes, so hopefully they see it and then work on it, right? Or adopt it, so to say. Okay. So I already have 3 points here. Anybody wanting to share? We have 5 minutes to round off the session. So feel free to comment. Okay. Hi Ayolua, how are you? Okay, I'm going to reiterate. So right now, so far, we're rounding off already anyways, but I'm just happy to hear the new folks that joined, their opinion, right? Yeah. Hi, good to see you. Okay, so we've been discussing fuel subsidy, its removal and implication on Nigerian residents. We all agreed that, or we found out that fuel subsidy started in 1970. That was when, that was even without Nigerians' knowledge at that point. It became institutionalized in 1977, actually. And what was the reason for this? They were trying, during General Olusegun Obasanjo's regime, they were trying to regulate the fuel price during the global great inflation era. Yes. But now, so over 16 years now, Nigeria has spent $30 billion on fuel subsidy over the past 16 years or thereabouts. And now, Buhari signed a Petroleum Industry Act on August 16, but made no provision for subsidy. And IMF has even now advised West African nations, not just Nigeria, so this is even pretty general, West African nations to do away with subsidy and implement a well-targeted social assistance plan, because the nations, but Nigeria says our budget can no longer even contain the financial burden. So we are now thinking, what is this social? Because what the government is thinking of is sharing 5,000 naira to everybody, or to 40 million Nigerians every month. What's the plan? There's no straight plan. There's no clear plan, rather. It's not even, what's the plan, say, before we even check if it's smart, right? So that's one. Two, it's also not feasible. What's the definition of a poor person? So how do you know this person is poor and needs this social assistance plan? I don't think we have a clear definition of that in Nigeria at now. Okay, so with all of this put together, we need to think of something, because this inflation will still happen one day, since it's not even it's already signed there. Yeah, so it's 5,000. We already analyzed earlier, right, that a family earning, let's say, right about the minimum wage, has 2 children, they are going to private schools, and they pay rent. Like, the reality doesn't even check at all. But okay, so that is the problem. We figured I understand the problem. So what is the way forward? That's where we are, and we are thinking of what social assistance plan we can employ in Nigeria currently. So somebody had suggested agriculture, and on the other end side, privatization. So if we privatize the oil sector and allow private people buy, start owning their own refineries, maybe that will save our problem, and also it will reduce the cost, because we won't have to export the raw the crude oil and then import petrol after it has been refined. So we have refineries here, and it's just done here, done here. I think that saves, reduces transportation and exportation cost. Import and export really save. It removes that from the cost, and makes petrol available, or at a cheaper rate. That's one. And on the other hand, this money they are removing, before they go and share it, the money they are removing, they now use it in the agriculture sector and make food cheaper. So I think if people have access to food, that even reduces that even reduces the problem, right, in a sense. So if we make agriculture, they improve the agriculture sector, food is available at a very cheap rate, people can afford food to eat, right? And yes, so that is, somebody already suggested that, and then someone else suggesting cheaper means of transportation, so maybe constructing the railway station. But then there's a big question: security. If they make cheaper means of transportation, how are they going to ensure that people's lives are safe while en route, right, on the way, and using that such medium? Look at Abuja and Abuja Kaduna railway station. There was a bomb blast at some point this year. Is it within this month or maybe last month, right? And it was not even funny. What happened? And then just last week on Sunday, the road, Abuja Kaduna road, they were kidnapping folks there. Even up to now, I'm sure half of them have not been found or they've not been released, right? So if we say cheaper means of transportation, then we need to think of the cost of security and ensuring that people's lives are safe, right? Then somebody else suggested that we provide commuter buses to government workers. But me, I'm beefing that idea because I'm not a government worker. And even not just that anyways. But if it's just the government workers, does that mean not being a government worker, does that make me less of a Nigerian citizen? That's another question. So I just look forward to other feedback, right, and ideas on how we can actually, or suggest other social assistance plan that we can employ as in Nigeria to solve this problem, really. Okay, I'm just going through the chat. Ayo said, I was going to mention privatization, so including PPP in the energy sector will help a great deal. Okay, and thankfully the agricultural sector is gradually picking up. That's a sustainable major cash cow for Nigeria. Yes, I agree, right? True. But the real question is, if we make this money, are we going to still use it for the right things? Are we really going to use it for it? Now, yeah, agricultural sector is gradually picking up. But the next thing you would hear now, sadly, I hope not, is that people now start looking to that area and thinking of ways to exploit the system. And on the long run, you now be like, okay, so now that there is profit and people are making money, does it say anything? Okay, sorry, Oluwatosin said, not only government workers, I take that back. For all Nigerians, the BRT bus services in Lagos. Okay, cool. So we have commuter buses. But then, I think if they do that, isn't that some measure of subsidy too? Well, maybe it's better than giving people 5,000 naira that you can't even account for it. So if at least if everybody, all eyes can see that, oh, there's BRT bus that is cheaper, you can use that if you cannot afford proper normal transportation private transportation that is available, or that are available rather. Fair point, don't worry. I forgive you, Tosi. It's fine. Okay, I'm noting that now. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I will just be taking last comments. Thanks for an engaging session so far. We'll be rounding off like in minutes. Okay, in less than 10 minutes. So I think this was a useful and engaging conversation. Yes, Tosin. I agree, it's better than, yes, it's true. It is actually. At least all eyes can see. That's my own. It's measurable, you can track it. Yes. Yeah. Accountability and proper management of funds is really key. That's true. Yeah. I think this is just really the big deal. This is our real problem in Nigeria. Accountability and the proper management of funds, amongst many things, really. So we'll be fine. We'll really be fine. I hope we are. Okay. So thank everybody for this engaging session. I don't know if we have few last words to say. Anybody? So tying all of this together, right? We started from, this is our problem. Fuel subsidy has to be removed because Nigeria cannot bear the burden anymore, the financial burden anymore. Okay. So what do you want to do? We want to share 5,000 naira to XYZ number of people. Well, how do you select these people? We don't know. What will you do? You don't know. Okay, fine. So what can we do? Or what other ways? If this is not going to work, what will work? And that's what we have done here. We have rightfully suggested. I see This is 3, right? Agriculture, no, this is 4. Agriculture, improving the agricultural sector, privatization, providing a cheaper means of transportation, which includes, so that's 3 actually. So the cheaper means of transportation is also, for instance, the commuter buses, right? So maybe this. So we've been able to suggest 3 social assistance plan, right? That Nigeria, okay, I'm seeing something else. Okay, that Nigerians can employ. So just before I round off, I'm just going to read Ayo's comment share. This is where the electorates come in, ensuring we put the right people there and following through the process of holding them accountable. As well, meaning young Nigerians, we need young Nigerians, we need to get into the system. Nigeria won't change overnight. It will take a while. Yes, I still discussed this today at an outreach where I went to, that we have so many problems, like there are just different sides to it. So I was at the prison earlier today, and it was a different world entirely. They also have their own problems, they have their own realities. Like if you go to the education sector, you see something. If you go to a correctional facility, you see the same thing. Like if you go to the health sector, if you engage the folks there too, they have their own story to tell. Yes, I still engaged somebody that was on Friday, yes, and person was talking about the fact that we don't have enough private healthcare facilities that is going to cater to general healthcare problems, and we now push that to the secondary level and then overburden the specialists in secondary healthcare facilities. That this is the real problem of the health sectors, and that's why these people can, when they go abroad, they specialize. If you are an ophthalmologist, you focus on that. If you are a dentist, you focus on that. But yeah, it's all mixed up, because even the private facilities that should cater to general medicine, they are not enough, or they are not well managed. So there are layers to this problem. That's the health sector. They have their own story to say. The health sector, here we are saying, oh, for subsidy, we don't have enough money. The financial, the companies, I said company now, the nation's finance is also something else to talk about. The agricultural sector, so they have their own, like, it's just everywhere. So if you really want to, the system can definitely not change overnight. It's not even, there's no magic to it. Yeah. But like you said, we start now and gradually we infiltrate the system and purge it of this whole mess, really. Well, I hope so, Adekunle, that we don't get infiltrated once we enter. It's a big prayer, and it's a resolute decision everybody has to make, right? Beyond prayer or anything, it is, you have to decide that I am not going to do this. I think that's just it. You have to be a person of integrity. Hold yourself to it, like you maybe swear on your life that this is not, it will never be aired. I would rather die than be a part of this mess. I think maybe when we become that resolute, I think it will work. Maybe people will fight us. Yeah, I quite agree. Yes, because of course some folks are benefiting from the rotten system, and they won't. Well, maggots benefit from decayed products, right, or decayed substances. So if you are going to remove a decayed substance or bury it or something, the maggots will not be happy. So you get the gist, right? So the system is rotten than we can imagine. I quite agree, but the truth is, we have to make a change. We have to do our best, our very best, really, to ensure that this is better. Yeah, a lot of structural and systemic reforms have to take place too. True, I quite agree. It's not a day's job, like we've all agreed and said, but we hope, or we try to contribute our own quota to the development of society, like I usually would say. So that's it, really. Yeah. Thank you, everyone, once again. I appreciate you for coming and joining this engaging session. We'll see each other next week, Saturday, on that topic that we'll share the topic we'll discuss during the course of the new week. Thank you. I hope you guys are preparing for December, Sha. I'm just asking. Okay, I'm reading Ayo's last comment. She says, or I'm not sure if it's last comment, but she says, this way the system exposes the bad guys and we can close the loopholes. That's if we have structural and systemic reforms. Yes, that one I feel is even a topic for another day. How do we influence systems and structures, really? If you are not in the system, is it possible for you to change the system? I don't have the answer. I'm just thinking out loud, really. I think it's something we can engage on some other time. Like, if you are not in the system, can you influence the system? I will check it. I'll also research on to see if it's possible. If you're not in the system, can you influence the system? Okay. All right, thank you everybody once again. So I was asking that how is preparation for Dirty December, or there's nothing dirty about the December? Oh well, just saying. Yeah. Okay, Trisha. Getting. You people have to answer me. I'm asking about your Dirty December. Any Dirty December plans or none? Well, Nigeria is enough burden to even not least to talk about Dirty December now. Uncle Kunle, please show us the way. Oh. Uncle Kunle, please don't run away. They say you're the one that. Okay. Tosin says you can influence the system if you are not in, but it's easier to influence from within the system, I guess. Yeah, I think it's a topic we'll explore extensively in subsequent episode and see. Because we'll then need to ask, okay, so how can you influence the system if you're not in, and how can you influence the system if you are in, and then weigh the options and see which one is better that way. All right. Thank you everybody once again for joining this session. I hope you've learned I hope you've learned a thing or more, and you go out there as usual. We'll start our influence start from here, influencing our next door neighbor. Please let me complete my line of thoughts. Oluwatosin. December will not be dirty in Jesus' name. Okay. Okay, it will be clean. I've heard you. All right. So thank you everybody for joining, right? And this is a wrap. Okay, Stephen, I see you just joined. Hello. You're rounding off anyways. I hope you get the summary notes once we do the design and post during the week as well. Thanks everybody for joining. So once again, I said I was rounding off by saying, I want to round off by saying our change starts here. Like, it begins with me, with you, and then you influencing your next door neighbor, influencing your friend, your colleague at work, or your colleagues at work, and that way they also influence their own circle, and it gets wider and wider that way. So there's a ripple effect, as it were. So guys, I hope this is another engaging session I really like, and I appreciate everybody's time joining. Thank you everybody. I hope you get some summaries from this on the page subsequently. So if you are not following YNAG, you should follow YNAG so that you get updates. See you next week Saturday. I love everybody. Cheers. Take care. All right. Thank you Ayolua for joining. Useful engagement, I must say. Thank you Oluwatosin. Thank you Kunle. Thank you Stephen Ojo. Thank you Manuel. Thank you Praise. Thank you Fuminife. Thank you Dr. Mui. Thank you King Adetunji. Everyone who joined the call. Thank you Namaka. Thank you Tosin. I was about to miss your name. Thank you everybody. I appreciate it. See ya. Enjoy the song for a little. This is Great Nation by Timi Dakolo. Bye ya. Regards to family. Okay, I'll try my very best. Thank you everybody.
We're a great nation. Though we are many people, different tribes, different tongues, we're united in our strength and resolve to uphold the honor of our land and for change.